Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
That's that voice. I love to hear it every week. That means I get my man Jacob Padilla. It is another episode of Nebraska Preps Postgame. We are doing recaps. We're doing previews. We're getting all your high school needs met, regardless of sport. We like to dabble. Welcome, JP. How are you?
Good to be back. Yeah, it's a busy, fun week last week, and now we're getting ready to do it all over again, starting with tomorrow.
And your Phoenix Suns are winning.
Yes, and Devin Booker has scored over 100 points on ridiculous shooting in his first 3 games with Kevin Durant. I think that pairing's going to work out pretty well.
Okay, so here's the deal, right? So we get the field goal percentages, right? And he's coming off. I mean, he torched the Mavs over the weekend. If you're watching the NBA, National Basketball Association, on big television, can he continue to get those kind of easier shots just playing with KD? Because he's extraordinarily efficient from 2.
Well, and eventually teams will shift their defense. They'll do more to take, and that's when DeAndre Ayton's going to start eating. That's when Chris is going to start getting to his spots. Like with those 4 out there, and the Mavs were helping off Josh Okogie, and he couldn't throw it in the ocean, but he was coming off a 5 for 10 from 3 game previously, and he's been playing the best basketball of his career heading up to that game. And then when he just didn't have it, Monty Williams made the move to go with Ish Wainwright, and dude that started the year on a 2-way, just converted to a full contract, comes in and hits 3-4 threes in the second half and takes advantage of them playing off of him. And that's the good thing. Like, people talk about the depth on this team, and the depth isn't the problem. It's going to be 5, 6, 7 or 5, 6. Like, are those guys good enough? They've got enough pieces on that bench to kind of adjust to the situation and the matchups and all that. It'll just be a matter of, can that 5th guy, that 6th guy, take advantage of the way you need him to. And I like their chances of being able to do that, especially if Booker and Durant continue to play the way they are.
Yeah, Jacob Padilla in a good mood is always a good Jacob Padilla. So go Suns as we transition into high school hoops. And let's start in D1. Primarily just because Centura came in, they held seed. Hastings St. Cecilia gave them all they wanted as the 4 seed. And I think maybe we'll agree. Tougher to seed lower classes just based on the schedule alone, because I feel like it can be a little bit more of a misnomer than, let's say, A and B in boys and girls basketball, right? I think we know exactly what it means, but I think some people will look at, like, let's say, Pender as the 2, even though everybody was talking about in C2, Ponca, Oakland Craig, everybody other than Pender, even though Pender had the 2 seed. So I say all that to say, as we start in D1, that sometimes the seeds aren't always crystal clear because of schedule and travel.
Exactly right, because the further away you get from the main metros here in Omaha and Lincoln, the more spread out the schedules get. Like we've seen even in C1, like the teams like Wahoo and Ashland Greenwood that are closer to Omaha and Lincoln, they were able to challenge themselves, go up and play Class B teams, whatever. Whereas out in Ogallala, they can only play who they've got on the boys' side, and they destroyed everybody out there that they played. They came and played a few teams on this half of the state, but you just out there, you don't get, like in Class B for boys, all those teams played each other. Like, all the good teams in B for the most part played each other during the regular season, so you've got a better feel for those teams. Smaller classes, like Hastings St. Cecilia made the championship. They came in with a 17-7 record.
As the 4 seed.
Ravenna, they lost their last 2 games, I believe. I think they lost the 3rd place game too, if I remember correctly. Came in with 24-2, went 1-2 at the state tournament. So as the 1 seed. So yeah, like you said, it's kind of up there. But in the end, we got we saw in the quote, Why Not as a 6 seed made it in D2. So they had all kinds of mixes. We had kind of went through the seeds before the tip off on Saturday, just the number of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 6 seeds. Like we had a pretty good mix of seeds in the championship games.
Yeah, hold that thought too, because I think I'll say this early, or maybe I'll say it now. I'm looking at A through C1, maybe even C2. Would not surprise me at all if all 1 seeds cut down the net.
Especially the way they're all playing.
Right? Like, I just was kind of looking at it. I was like, Bellevue West wouldn't surprise me. Certainly Scott wouldn't surprise me.
The run Wahoo's on.
Wahoo wouldn't surprise me, nor would Ogallala. Right? So.
Well, and then Freeman in C2.
Yeah. I do like so. And you know what's funny about Freeman? Because I think they're 26-2 right now. You said something a couple of weeks ago, because I always like to give credit where credit is due, especially when you kind of know more than like the lay person, because that means you do your homework. We were surprised that Freeman got jumped in the coaches poll a couple of weeks ago after the Grand Island, the Harvest Hoops Classic, and we felt like Freeman was maybe a little more deserving because of their schedule.
Yeah.
And it caught you off guard. You were like, I don't know about Freeman getting jumped right there. But it is what it is, and here they are as the 1 seed.
Yep, just kept winning from there. But first, let's knock out the girls before we jump into the boys. You mentioned the D1 Centura pulled it out against Hastings St. Cecilia.
Sydney Davis. Ooh.
Yeah, no kid, because right off the bat, like St. Cecilia couldn't have gotten off to a much better start. You got, go figure, Kissinger hitting threes in the state championship game. Just a freshman. But they kind of ran out of steam, and Centura just took over in the second half. And you mentioned Sydney Davis, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks. And really, the St. Cecilia took control when she got in foul trouble and had to sit on the bench.
I felt like that was key kind of throughout, was the foul situation and managing minutes.
Yep. And then put her back in, realized, all right, we need to get her out there. And she managed to get through the first half without any fouls. And they kind of started to get back into a rhythm. And then second half, they held St. Cecilia to 2 points in third quarter and just 6 in the fourth. Just could not score against them. Couldn't make a shot. Turnovers down the stretch. Like just really impressive performance from Centura, and Sydney Davis is obviously the star there. Coach talked about her having she's got basically every shot blocking record for Centura. 6 foot kind of wing guard type. Does a little bit of everything for them. Went 11 of 15 from the free throw line. Hit some tough shots around the basket. And again, the shot blocking, a couple really just like meet you at the top and pull that thing down. Really impressive performance from her to lift her team to a state title.
So obviously the third quarter and the fourth quarter, if you're Hastings St. Cecilia, you go through the drought. I think Centuria finished on a 28-9 run after the initial surge from Hastings St. Cecilia. The 2-point third quarter, is that about when you got the sense you're like, because it's not like Centura was blowing the doors off the thing, because they scored in the single digits as well, but it was so hard to get good looks at the basket, and they just dogged Kissinger. Sometimes it was deny, sometimes it was run and trail. Like, they just didn't want her to get any touches.
Yeah, and they started out. They were in the zone. I think they were might have even been playing a box and one on her.
Yeah, it looked like they were trailing a ton, trying to make sure that she did not get the ball while they played what we would call kind of a 2-2.
Yeah, and she knocked down a couple of them early, and then the credit to St. Cecilia, they took advantage of the attention paid to her, because then others started knocking down shots, and they shot the ball really well in the first quarter. They went 4-7 from 3, 6-11 from the field overall. They were up by 15 in the second quarter. And then it just flipped again. Davis came back in, sparked a run to close the half. It was a 3-point game at halftime. And then Centura just kind of steadily took control and pulled away in the second half. And like you said, it wasn't any, like, they didn't outscore them 20 to anything. Yeah. It wasn't a real big run. It was just consistently St. Cecilia couldn't get looks, and Centura won this thing with defense.
Yeah, so I think going into if you're just kind of following along with the box score with what happened in the third and fourth quarter. I think it was 8-2 in the third quarter and only
9-6.
9-6.
Yep.
In the fourth quarter. But I felt like the composure, there was the timeout at about I don't know, maybe less than 4. It was under 4 in the second quarter. And Centura is kind of surging. And when they go into the half with a manageable deficit, I think they were down 3 maybe. I'm trying to do the math.
3 point. Yeah, 3 at halftime.
You had to feel pretty good because Hastings St. Cecilia much younger, Centura older, a little more experience. You felt like, okay, maybe their experience in terms of games played would yield big dividends, and it did.
Yep. So congrats to Centura.
You want to hop down to D2? You want to hop down to D2?
Works for me.
Because we don't have to go. So the only reason we did that is because we started with how the order in which the games were played on television, but we can stay in order in terms of class if you want to.
Yeah.
Even though we got off already with D1 and D2.
Yeah. Well,
Falls City Sacred Heart, and why not?
Yeah. Well, last game of the day. Whoo boy. Fan offense. This was not the game for you.
No, I felt I was watching like Coach Weeks, trying to seal one for Auburn in the boys' game.
Yeah, it was. So why not did not score. The first quarter was 4-0. Mm-hmm. Why not did not score until midway through the second quarter when they banked in a 3. That was their first bucket. Sacred Heart led 14-3. And then why not kind of settle down from there, start getting some shots to go, cut it down.
Played the second quarter virtually even.
Yeah, 14-13, got back into it a little bit there at halftime. Falls City Sacred Heart took a 8-point lead into the fourth quarter and then started playing stall ball. And Coach said it wasn't necessarily their plan to do that. Like they were trying to draw them out to spread the defense and look to attack. And the opportunities they thought would be there just never materialized with the way they were being defended. And they basically turned it over or every time if they didn't get a shot up. They didn't make a shot for long stretches there, and more often than not they chewed up clock and then turned it over. The fourth quarter was just turnover, foul, like it was just chaos the entire time. And why not came back to take the lead, and then they started trying to run out the clock, and then they started turning the ball over. And then Sacred Heart got it back and took the lead on some free throws, and then they switched to a 2-3 zone the last couple of possessions after playing man, and it really stifled Why Not, and they didn't even get a real look on the last play of the game. It was a kind of heave from the logo at the buzzer that never had a chance. So credit to Sacred Heart for kind of closing that thing out, but 21 combined field goals in this game.
Let me ask you something. As we saw, like it was 4-0, I think, at the end of one. I think the fourth quarter was 11-4. So still only 15 points combined. In between there, you had some fairly decent scoring. A lot of talk all weekend about shot clock versus no shot clock. Do you think coaches should have to adjust to tempo and style of play, or do you think, gosh, you know what? Some teams just aren't meant to be sped up.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think there's a difference between being methodical and taking good shots and really trying to eat up the clock. And the way I coach, like summer ball, you don't have a shot clock, don't deal with that. I really stress getting a good look, moving the ball, taking time if we need to. Like we can chew up 45 seconds as long as we're trying to generate something. We're playing with a purpose. We don't need to take the first available look. I think there's a difference between that and then sometimes teams really
holding the ball, looking up at the clock.
Yeah, chewing up the clock. As long as you're playing basketball, if the possessions take a little bit longer, I think that's fine. Like for a viewer, it was kind of startling going from the Class A games on Wednesday to the Class B and some of the teams that were trying to cut down on possessions on Thursday. I mean, on the one hand, coaches have to do what they think is best to give their team a chance to win. On the other, as a spectator and fan of the game and of kids, I just want them to be able to play. I want them to go out there, play basketball, let the players try to make plays, and then go from there.
Were you surprised that Werdenberger and Scholl, the two primary scorers for Falls City, were able to just sustain?
Yeah, and credit to McKinley Scholl, and coaches talked about her. She got hurt first game of the year and didn't come back and play till January, and still isn't 100%. They said came up 10 big points in that game. Wernberg had 11. Gentry Lechtenberg hit the game-winning free throws. And credit to Sacred Heart and unfortunately, this was a bit of a theme of the tournament. Saw their teammate go down with a knee injury, Delaney Witt. And were able to kind of rally and finish the game and pull out the win despite seeing and she was in a lot of pain. You could hear when she went down in the second half there.
Yeah. It kind of gave me the willies.
Yeah. And again, unfortunately wasn't the only one that suffered a major injury during the tournament or leading into the tournament. We saw a few teams in Class A. The first two games featured starters on the lower seed, key players in street clothes. So, but credit to Sacred Heart pulling that out again, 33-32, and just another state championship there in Falls City. It's their 8th. I think quite a few of them in the last several years. So they're on quite a run. Kind of got a power down there in that class.
Yeah, quickly, let's hop to C2, where I felt like we talked about this one. I was on social media talking about this one. This was the toughest for me to pick. I went with Oakland Craig. I said the true dark horse, though, was Pender. Even though they were the 2 seed, everybody talked about either Crofton, OC, or Ponca. I felt like Pender was kind of the afterthought, even as the 2 seed. Did not disappoint as this one went down to the wire.
Well, and credit to Pender because this game was played to the Oakland Craig style. Like you watch them before, they're just pure chaos. Yeah. Transition, fast break, trapping, pressing, flying all over the place. Like they just want to make that game ugly, up tempo, and they succeed in that. They were bunch of turnovers. I mean, Pender had 19 turnovers and found a way to win. Both teams shot under 37% from the field. What wasn't necessarily a pretty game. Both teams struggled to get shots to go down, but in the end, Maya Dolver stepped up and just a sophomore, and one of a couple Dolvers that made some big ways at the state tournament this past week.
Yeah, Malcolm's cousin and Matt.
Yeah. But Dolver made some huge plays on serve. Beautiful assist for an and one, and then hit enough free throws there to kind of seal it at the end. And Pender was able to get the stop they needed. Again, another Oakland Craig didn't really get a good look on their last shot. They needed 3 to tie it up and couldn't really get a good shot off.
How about the tale of 2 quarters between the second quarter and the third quarter? Where, that was the biggest disparity in the game, and ultimately was the summation of the 3-point difference.
Again, same deal where one team builds up a big lead, the other team rallies. And then the initial team manages to right the ship and to make the plays down.
Pender goes in at the half, 25.
16, up 9, and then 14-8 third quarter for Oakland Craig getting back into it. Cheney Nelson led the way with 18 points in the game for them. She's had a great career.
They needed some more Rennerfelt, in my opinion, in terms of touches. That just for a balance of a different way to score, at least in my opinion, for Oakland Craig.
Yeah, because the outside shots weren't falling. They were only 3 of 21 from 3. Just didn't quite get enough there. But that was the difference in the game. Nelson had 18, Dolver had 16. Kirsten Fry 4 of 8 from 3. Scored 12 points. She was the kind of the second scorer that Oakland didn't really have. Nobody else had more than 8, and stepped up and hit some big shots in the second half. So credit to her for kind of giving her team the boost that they needed to pull out the victory.
And one of the few that got away, and it happened kind of late. The third quarter, not good for Adams Central. North Bend runs away with it against Adams Central.
Yeah, just could not score enough points. Couldn't find a way to forgot what the stretch was, but to open the third quarter, North Bend just went on a run there, just pulled away as Adams Central couldn't find a way to put the basket. And I mean, credit to North Bend because like they won by 17 despite Caitlin Emanuel struggling mightily. Only 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 10 from the line. That's she's as good as any player in the class. Obviously, Ruthie Loomis Gold was going to Colorado, but Emanuel's had an absolutely phenomenal career for them. But sister Lindsay Emanuel, just sophomore, stepped up with 13. And then Madison Bishop, again, that was the key. Had 13 points, was efficient with their opportunities, went 6 of 7 from the line, knocked down a 3. Their only 3 of the game, 1 of 10 from 3 and won the game. But they also had Adams Central to 2 of 13 from 3. So really the key to the game was Adams Central just couldn't find a way to score against North Bend's defense. So just athleticism, their length. Again, credit for North Bend for pulling that out despite being down a starter. Josie Cleveringa wasn't able to play in the tournament, got hurt, had to play without her.
Right before.
It's a starter. So to finish that off despite losing a key piece is a credit to everybody in that program for stepping up.
Yeah, let me go down because as we jump to B and A quickly here before we move on to boys. This one was probably the biggest surprise for me, even though, and you know this because I follow the girls' side of the basketball as closely as anybody. I did not expect the ease in which Elkhorn North sustained, knowing full well that Britt Prince is an absolute phenom. I've seen Ivy live. I've seen Riche Bristol. I've seen Strikey from Chambers. I've seen Jess Shepard. I've seen them all. And I've seen them with my very own eyes. Even though Britt Prince's prowess will supersede them all in terms of recruiting, I still will take Ivy in a head-to-head deal. But the score and the manner in which they did it in terms of ease surprised me.
Well, and I mean, we were on this collision course the entire season.
The whole season.
Nobody else was able to touch either one of them. They played the first weekend of the year. I believe it was Scott's first game, Elkhorn North's second matchup, and Scott got that one. And it wasn't that close either. It wasn't a last second thing. It was a decisive victory. And Elkhorn North didn't lose again, won out the rest of the season. Obviously beat Millard South in a game, which obviously we'll talk about them in a minute, but showed that just how good this Elkhorn North team can be. But yeah, the story of the tournament was Britt Prince. Just an absurd performance, all 3 games. She missed 4 total shots in the first 2 games and scored 58 points with missed 2 threes, missed 2 twos. That was it. Didn't miss from the free throw line. Just unreal efficiency. And the way she was doing it, scoring from all 3 levels, just 5 of 7 from 3 in the first 2 games, was 18 of 20 inside the arc, finishing both hands, Euro steps, hit a floater, and she had the pull-up jumper falling all weekend long. And then come into the Scott game and she misses 4 of her first 5 shots in that first quarter. And it's 18-18 at the end. You're like, all right, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. Back and forth. Big shots made both ways early on. But as the game went on there, just eventually I'm not shocked at the way this turned out. Just watching the way Scott plays, their shot selection at times, like a lot of it, a lot of it, they just kind of overwhelm you with their defense volume. And their depth and volume. They get more shots than you. They've got some shot makers that can hit some tough ones, but they also settle for some tough ones. You could see in that semifinal, the second half, like they got off to a great start, blitzed them out of the gates.
And I thought the X factor was, I thought it would be Bert, and they kind of They held Addison, I wouldn't say in check, but just the impact that she had on the overall course of the game was not what I thought.
Well, and this shows the brilliance of Prince, because Burt did a really good job. Like, nobody could stay in front of Prince the first 2 days. She did. Yep. She stayed in front of her. Britt did not do most of her damage, and she wasn't able to get, even before hurting her foot. She wasn't getting really downhill, wasn't able to get clean looks at the basket. And in this game, she was 1 of 6 inside the arc. Yeah. Missed a couple of those mid-range balls that had been falling, and Burt stayed in front. So what you do, stepped out, 5 of 7 from 3. And that's what she said. She prides herself on being able to score in multiple ways. And they did a good job between Burt's individual defense and sending help side, taking away the easy opportunities for her.
And as we talked about this, I talk about all the time with the guys game, the boys game, it's hard to be a good two-way player. Yeah. And I felt like it took a lot out of Burt defensively to run and chase and defend. I just felt like they were going to get more from her offensively in this one. And I just think what she had to commit defensively was darn right exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they need a few more shots to go down from Molly Ladwig to have a chance at it.
We'll finish with 13, but it was a hard 13.
Yeah, and just combined 4 points between Julia Keneally and Cameron Kasner from inside. So that's kind of your only source of interior scoring for them. So they didn't have that to kind of balance out what Elkhorn North was doing from 3 and Britt in particular. And credit to McKenna Murphy. Had to deal with some foul trouble early on in the game, but finished 15 points, really efficient, hit 2 threes, 6 of 10 from the field. Like her coming over, joining that team already with state championship experience, joining up with Prince. And then they got 9 from Grace Thompson. Grace Haney, she was a monster on the glass. Purdue volleyball commit who went nuts in the state tournament for volleyball. And I talked to Reese Booth, obviously setter for Elkhorn North, played with her in both sports. And she said, saw something in her, like in her eyes in that championship game. Like she just something she had never seen from her before. And she said, saw the same deal with her. And she had 7 offensive rebounds. I believe that was all in the first half. She just unreal. Just every miss, she was going up and getting it. And finished with 6 points and 12 rebounds. And again, second chance points were 15-4, and that was almost entirely because Haney went and got the ball and gave it back to their scorers and let them go to work. So credit to Prince again. It looked like it could have gotten dicey in the second half when stepped on someone's foot or someone stepped on her. Something happened. Foot strain is what the trainers thought initially it was. She came back out. They were working on her for a bit. Elkhorn North didn't score the 2.5 minutes that she was on the bench. And then Scott coach Kip Collin, he said afterward, like, when they weren't able to make up more ground during that time, that's when he felt like, all right, we're in trouble here. They need to get that thing down to 2 possessions or so before Prince was able to get back in. They just weren't able to get it there. And again, Prince, you could definitely tell when she came back in, it was bothering her, but still found a way to make some big plays in the last quarter and a half, and then hit the free throws late too. Went 9-9 from the line in the game overall. Did not miss a free throw in the state tournament.
Yeah, just unbelievable player. I felt like, obviously just watching her, since middle school, right, playing against my daughter, and I saw what she did in the city championship as a 7th grader and again as an 8th grader. Just watching Prince for a long time, I should not be surprised, but I love the subtle Jacob Padilla tweet where basically you're saying would love to see the players that are ranked ahead of Britt Prince, because they have to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget, this isn't just Nebraska she's done this to. She does it in summer as well.
Yeah, playing on the Adidas circuit last year. Obviously, we saw the game winner. She hit ridiculous steep. But yeah, ESPN has her ranked 10th nationally in her class, which, I mean, that's incredible. 10th best player in the country, 5-star. I mean, she can go wherever she wants. But
I mean, that's legit.
But I think and Jimmy Moats tweeted about her as well. It's just how complete she is. Again, she can impact the game in every single way. Like, she gets after it on the glass. She's one of their best rebounders. She is, I think, 20.
Good with assists.
Yep.
Makes free throws.
Can get downhill, can score from mid range. Obviously, lights out from three. Just complete. Can beat you in every single way, and that's what we saw throughout the state tournament. Just averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, 6.5 assists this year.
Yeah, she's fantastic. As we get ready to hop over to Class A, hard to believe we're already at the 30-minute mark.
It's hard to get through this quickly.
We do it different than anybody, man. Is a collision course now.
You guys are thorough.
We're thorough as Millard South gets it done with the super seniors. Remember, let's rewind. When the article came out in the Omaha World Herald, and it was Millard South's version of the Fab Five in terms of freshmen that were going to Millard South, people thought, they rolled their eyes if they weren't Patriot fans. If you were the parents and parts of that program, you're like, ooh, here we go. They found a way to close it out and get the one with the big three left over. People forget about Juliana Jackson and some others.
Joanna Jones.
Joanna Jones, I'm sorry. And Juliana Jackson. Like, really, DB? I was thinking. Anyway, let's not get into my head.
Yeah, dangerous place.
Well, I mean, coming off the ACL injury, I don't think people expected a ton when she came back. But, man, you talk about getting the proverbial monkey off your back and meeting expectations. They did it in a dominant fashion.
And the fact that they did fall behind early, 92 close to the first quarter, you go in down 17-10 after one. Lincoln High's feeling great. And then for them to regroup, settle in.
We gave up a 28-point second quarter.
That's just unreal stretch there from Millard South. And to take control of that game, go up 38-30 at halftime. And I mean, Lincoln High, they kind of pushed throughout the second half. There were stretches where you thought, okay, here they got to 6 here, they got to 6.
Listen, I love their backcourt. I love Brianna Robinson. I like Brill. Brianna Robinson is pretty complete.
Heading to northern Iowa.
She takes some tough twos.
Yes.
Which I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. I sometimes, because she can get fouled anytime she wants to, and she's a really good shooter. But she is spectacular. But I mean, the big three: just Lemon, Babbitt, Olson, and Maya Babbitt. I've seen it for years.
Killer.
She is so streaky and such a good shooter. You blink, and it's all she wrote.
And that's exactly what happened in this game. Again, Lincoln High gave themselves several chances second half. They push every single time. Millard South had an answer. And in the fourth quarter, that answer was Maya Babbitt. So obviously in the semifinal, she went 8 of 14 from three, set a state tournament single game record. Just unreal performance. Followed it up. She was 1 of 7 from three through the first 3 quarters. Couldn't get to go in the ocean. Didn't care at all. Fourth quarter, Lincoln High makes a push, right? Comes down, step back 3 in transition. No rebounders.
Crowd kind of gets going a little, right?
And hits 3 threes in a row. Her first 3 threes in the fourth quarter to essentially seal the game there.
And that's one team. But, Chloe Lemon's toughness. She's so competitive. Cora Olson's been a winner her whole life. You let that team play downhill, kind of snowball, boy, they'll get you, and they got you in a hurry.
Yeah, 20 and 10 from Cora Olson, 20 points from Chloe Lemon, and then Babbitt finished with 30. Again, goes from 1 of 7 to hitting 3 straight in the fourth quarter to seal the game. Just the confidence that she has, and I've talked about this, like her ability to get the shot off. And have a chance to make it. There aren't many people that can shoot quite like she can.
Do you know her range? Do you know her equivalent on the men's game? I know you're going to get this right. Just to get the shot off.
Jane Jackson.
Jane Jackson. Yep. She's totally Jane Jackson.
Exactly. Just pulling it from anywhere.
It's quick. You may not
quick,
think she's gonna shoot it. She gets her feet right. She is the boys' equivalent to Jaden Jackson.
Off the catch, off the dribble, can do both from well beyond the college line even.
She's always open.
So yeah, just she was absolutely phenomenal in this state tournament. I can't. Feels like Kent State got an absolute steal there. I feel like she could probably play a little bit higher than the MAC, but
especially when she learns to trust putting it on the deck.
Yeah,
because she's going to make open shots.
Yep. So, yeah, credit to them. Just phenomenal. And then Lexi Finkenbeiner, 2 points. She had the only 2 points outside of the big three, 16 rebounds. Yeah. And Bryce Myers talked about how this team doesn't work without her.
Yeah,
she is
came over from Millard North, did a lot of the dirty work, hard going from north to south in that community. She embraced it.
The perfect fourth player to go with that big three, because she's not going to shoot anything except for an open layup and doesn't care.
Yeah.
Again, goes 16 rebounds. She's the leading team in assist, has no problem setting up all those other three to go get buckets, and then takes on the toughest defensive assignment. I mean, this is a game where Juliana Jones only played 14 minutes. She was in foul trouble from the start.
Yeah.
So they needed big minutes from Miranda Kelly, and Grace Pruva had to play a little bit off the bench as well. But it really was those four that sealed this thing. And North South did a good job again with just kind of the way they get up their pressure. Jalen Brill played really well, but
I like
only
her
got
game.
7 shots.
Yeah, I like her game. Sometimes just as the more traditional role in terms of pass first, she's not aggressive enough, at least in my opinion, on offense. And again, a team that I followed for a long, long time. Heck of a job by both those teams, and congratulations to the Patriots.
No doubt.
Let's go 1 through 8 rapid fire. Let's go. We'll preview North Star, Bellevue West. Man, you talk about length and athleticism versus super complete and underappreciated defensively. I just don't get the sense, unless this game stays in the low 50s, I don't see how North Star pulls it off.
Yeah, I just don't trust their
offense,
their shot. Yeah, their shot making, their decision making. Like, credit to Coach Steinbrook and getting them to this point from where they were last year to qualify for the state tournament. He's done a great job of figuring things out with the various zones, using the length. Did a good job. But I mean, nothing against them. Everybody's going to have a tough time against Bellevue West this year. I think that's pretty clear.
So, listen, backcourt matters. Lazarick Houston going to have to be big. He's their primary ball handler. Do you think the length of North Star can bother the finishing around the rim of Bellevue West when they get Garcia and a rope and even
Dotzler getting downhill himself?
Listen, and I'm telling you, Stuvie takes some tough 2-pointers from about the 10 to 14. Stuvie's mid-range game is way good, and it's way underappreciated because we don't like mid-range game, but he makes a ton. Can North Star be disruptive enough with their length?
Yeah, I think they will be able to cause problems for Bellevue West because of that length that you said, the zones. It's just a matter.
He's got to score too now.
Yeah, are they going to be able to cause more problems for Bellevue West than Bellevue West causes for them? That's the question, and that's the difficult quandary that every team that goes against Bellevue West face, because they're the best defensive team in the state and also really talented on offense. So you can defend them really well, but you have to defend them better than they defend you, which is a hard task.
I don't love the matchup just because South plays so hard. Any concerns for the 2 seed?
Well, and Elkhorn South gave them a battle when they played the regular season there.
You come in half stepping and you think this is going to be done with early or whatever. Elkhorn South's going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you we're here for 4 quarters.
Yeah, and
Brennan does a fantastic job.
And they've got those 5 seniors that have done it together all season long. You know, they're going to be playing their hearts out there. they're going to have shots. Like Warner's going to have to be hitting. Noonan's going to have to be hitting.
They're capable.
Yeah. So that's key to that one. If Elkhorn South gets hot from 3, they've got a chance to stick with that one, because we know Millard North is hot and cold in that perspective. Outside of Neil Mosser, is not a ton of consistent shooting.
I kind of like the lineups that they've been playing late, which is Luke Davis, Camoni. You've got Rollins, Mosser, and Eli. Gath, who everybody tells me it's now Gath, not Gath or Gaith. It's Gath. I'm going to have a conversation with Kelly, his dad, and tell me why he just didn't tell me that. But kind of like Flores as a senior, you're just now letting us know. But they've been playing that lineup late to give themselves a chance. You think we see that more?
Yeah, I think so. They'll mix and match those pieces, try to figure out who's clicking, who gives them the best chance, the most well-rounded lineup. But I mean, if Eli plays the way that he did the last week of the season, Millard North is going to have a chance to make a deep run here. And I mean, we saw that the other side of that bracket, 3-6 Gretna. Dragons, again,
dangerous.
Southeast, that length, again, I don't know if Southeast is going to be able to play well enough offensively to get it done. But scoring's going to be tough for Gretna with that length, with Ben Dak and those guys.
If you're looking for a team that folks don't respect a ton, they're kind of like, Southeast is a dangerous, scary bunch. You and I have gone back and forth over them all season. How are they going to play? Are they playing through Voss? What's going on with Hilkeman? How can he contribute? What's Chewy going to do? Is he playing? Is he not playing? What are they going to do up front? When those guys are going, Tay Moore, they're scary if they're all invested in sharing the ball. This is the one game of the high versus low seeds that I feel the best about a potential upset. Even as well coached as Gretna is defensively, Southeast can get you about 4 or 5 different ways if they're on their game.
And they were not playing well offensively down the stretch and still found a way to pull out the district wins to qualify for state because of their defense and because of their length and their activity. And so they're going to have to keep that up.
Wouldn't shock me at all if they won this game. And I'm probably the biggest Coach Hurd, Coach Feakin fan that is not associated with Gretna as anybody in the state. Nothing but respect. I just know what Southeast is capable of if they're dialed in.
Yep. And then the last game, Lincoln East against Westside, is a 4 versus 5. We just saw this game at Westside,
and it wasn't that close.
No, East played really well. Second half kind of pulled away from that with that thing. Westside just couldn't quite find a way to slow them down. But Westside also, I think, figured some things out down the stretch. They played much better.
I'll give you the key, right? Easy. Efficiency. Tate and Kevin cannot take 17, 18 shots to score 14, 15 points. CJ Mitchell has to understand when to distribute, when to shoot it, make my easy ones. And Caleb's going to have to score. He's going to
stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, he's going to have, and listen, he's got, and we've talked a ton. You have to figure out how the game's being called.
Yeah.
I get it. You're an elite level defender. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt anymore because of the way you play.
And they need him out there to take on whichever of the 2 Carters is hot.
If they get them both hot, East is a handful. That's a solid 4 right there. That's a good bunch.
Yeah, we talked about Wahoo, Scott, kind of the prohibitive favorites in B, C1, Freeman, and C2.
Could this be chalky for four classes?
I think it could. D1 could be interesting there. You've got North Platte, St. Pat's is kind of always been around there. But Maywood Hay Center, they got 3 dudes at that level.
The last of the non-undefeateds to be undefeated, right?
Or
was it Donovan Trumbull?
Yeah,
it was one of the 2.
Outside of Ogallala finishing off in Bell West. But Donovan Trumbull was the last one. I think Maywood Hay was his 4th.
Yeah.
And then you got Parkview reigning champs there. It's a 3 seed down there in D2. Those 2 dudes, Victor Kachalowski and Maurice Reed,
if they know how to win.
Tough.
They're long too.
So
we'll recap the boys next week. Hopefully not take another 45 minutes, but sometimes it's just like that.
only one tournament to recap next week.
That's Jacob Padilla, the best in the business. You guys know that. I'm old DB. I'm just trying to get in where I fit in. It's Nebraska Preps Postgame.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.